Hey, everybody, you are watching and listening to the We Are Rizin podcast. This is your host, Andrew Benjamin. I'm joined by my very handsome co host from Houston, Texas, Jay Christian Gary from Focus Fights.
Hey y'all, how's it going? And obviously, when it comes down to this very special episode, we hate basically labeling all our episodes as special, but this one is the most. Let's just say this one is incredible because we're about to talk to a man who's been just about everywhere: the Maximum Fighting Championship, the UFC, and of course the Rizin Fighting Federation. And coming up very, very soon, as a matter of fact, it's in about a few days, if not a week or so, this man will be having his final professional MMA fight at Freedom Fight Night 3 at the Celebrity Theater in Phoenix, Arizona. This man has gone all over the world and now is ready to hang up his gloves and call it a career. Please welcome UFC, Rizin, WSOF, Maximum Fighting Championship, and Combachi America's veteran, El Toro, Anthony Birchak. How are you,
What's
sir?
up? What's up, man? What a intro, bro. That's crazy. I don't ever get
Hey,
to look back on all the shit that I've done. You know what I mean?
hey,
So,
I tried my best. It's Andrew you probably want to talk to about this, but still, though, I can basically say that you had a hell of a career, and I just wish that you could have done a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, dude, you and me both, big dog. You and me both. I was just talking to Mark Pavlich about it. You know what I mean? And I just think the biggest thing that I lacked was consistency in coaching. I never had the same two cornermen at the same fights. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that if I could go back in a time machine, I would definitely fix about ways that I structured my camp, people that I had in my corner, stuff like that. But um, I mean, it's been a hell of a ride, dude.
I'm curious to know, I got to ask, a lot of fighters say, oh, I'm going to quit. And then a week later, they're on bare knuckle boxing. Are you done with just MMA, combat sports, or are you can still do grappling?
I,
What's your definition of retirement?
I was just in the barber chair getting asked the same answer, man. Like, am I? They're like, bro, are you really gonna be done? And I'm like, dude. And he's like, well, homeboy was in here, and they asked the same thing, like, yo, is he really gonna be done? And he's like, bro, if he beats the fuck out of this dude, I doubt it. But the thing is, man, is like I would love to have my Glover Teixeira moment. I would love to have all those things happen where I'm 42 years old and I'm the UFC champion of the world, or the Bellator champion of the world. You know what I mean? The Rizin champion of the world. I would love for those things to happen, man. But I've been doing this for 13 years now, and the money hasn't gotten any better for me. It's gotten better for people around me. It's gotten better for dudes coming in. It's gotten better for the loudmouths and the showboats, and it's gotten better for them. But it's never gotten better for me. The biggest paydays that I've ever gotten were at Ryzen. You know what I mean? And Shingo and Nobu Sakakibara and Takara Nobuhiko were the guys that took care of me the most.
Hmm.
Now,
Those
okay.
guys were the guys that I could say, like, okay, these are the type of purses that I'm here for. But you know what I mean? Like, I re-signed with an agency that put me back in the UFC less than what my contract was for when I left. So I didn't even walk back into the UFC my second time at what I left at. They put me back at league minimum. So it's like, dude, this next fight that I'm fighting, the purse was horrible. The ticket percentages that they offered me were horrible. There was literally no negotiation on, okay, well, if you can only give me this much purse, can I get this much in ticket sales? It was literally a take it or leave it kind of situation. Like, here's the shit, you're gonna eat it. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm tired of that. And in jujitsu, I love doing jujitsu. I mean, I probably still compete at that. Those are fun little things to always just kind of keep the competitive fire burning. I might even, do, USA Wrestling Masters Nationals again. Um, unless this fight goes, outstanding and Bellator rise and go like, hey, we got a contract for you for 50K. You know what I mean? Like, that's my number. I'm not doing this shit anymore if it's for less than 50.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that I'm worth that. You know, I put on exciting fights. I'm not only a USA Wrestling National champion. I literally just won the ADCC International Open. I've been, you know, multiple time world champion in MMA. And it's just like, dude, like, I know what my value is, and people continue to undervalue me when I come to the table. So I'm just kind of sick of it, man. You know, and like, if you know, my business has suffered as, you know, the 10th Planet Gym owner. You know, my career has suffered as, you know, a fighter trying to be a business owner at the same time and a coach. You know, so I'm trying to figure out like which of these things do I need to really focus on? They're going to pay the bills in the long run, and obviously it's having a successful gym and business and a successful fight team.
Gotcha. Now, when it comes down to your MMA career, and obviously I hate to drag this into the mud too early, but obviously you said you've been fighting for 13 years. You've been fighting since the 4th of July, 2009. But do you feel like if your MMA career would have started, say, in like 2012 or 2013, that you would have probably chosen to fight more often in Rizin than you would have fought in MFC or the UFC?
Not necessarily, because I think Access TV did a tremendous thing for all fighters, because every Friday night we would able to be turning on the TV and either watch RFA, LFA, MFC, CFFC. We were watching all kinds of the up and coming talent. You know what I mean? We knew who the hammers were coming out of what show. You knew Aljo was coming out of CFFC. You knew I was coming out of MFC. You knew the boys from Texas were coming out of LFA. You know what I mean? And you knew the guys. RFA started as Resurrection Fighting Alliance. It was to take guys like me and build them back up. You know what I mean? You knew who was coming through what show. Now you don't know none of these fucking kids, bro. Where you come from, dude? Where did you fucking come from?
Exactly. Especially when it comes down to the fact that the RFA and the Legacy Fighting Championship, which was the promotion that I cared about the most as a fight fan, other than Dream, which was also on HDNet/Access TV. I mean, ever since the LFA became one, I mean, it's like, who the fuck were these people?
Dude, and that's the thing, is like the UFC is a puppy mill right now. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know where half of these puppies are coming from, dude. I have no idea where these kids are. And at least, so to go back to the question was, HDNet Access TV was such a great platform and exposure for guys like me and guys, you know, like Pedro Munoz and all those guys that won a title coming up. You knew who the big dogs were going into the next show. I don't know, like, other than now Fury, right? Fury out of Houston, Fury FC, they're doing it. You know what I mean? Eric Garcia is doing a good job of bringing up those next guys. And basically, it's if you win the Fury title, if you win the LFA title, you're going to the UFC. You know what I mean? But everything's on Fight Pass now. You know what I mean? Like, not everybody wants to pay for Fight Pass. You know, the best thing that was happening for guys like me at that time, during that time period, was Access TV. And so to answer your question, no, I think I was in the perfect time at the perfect spot. I think my initial handling going into the UFC was done bad. And I think my with coaching wise, and I think the secondary time in the UFC was handled poorly management wise. You know, so I've always just been kind of a victim of circumstance, and I'm just such an easygoing guy that I'm like, yeah, sure, fuck it, let's run it. Yeah, yep, let's do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if that's what you think I should be doing, that's what you think I should be doing. Let's go.
Actually, you bring up a good point about the Rizin thing. Sorry, Chris, hold on. About, you said that Rizin was your biggest payday, and a lot of fans, I think, have this misconception that only organization like UFC is the only one that will pay their fighters anything at this point. And so,
bro, that is such a crock of shit. And I fucking hate seeing these kids come in that are badasses getting paid 10 and 10 and 12 and 12. You know what I mean? Like, when I was in Rizin, they were paying me 24 grand cash. And, you know, like, I remember, dog, I was still like a little kid feeling kind of, you know what I mean? And like, who was it? King Mo and Keith Haring pulled me aside, and I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna get jumped by these dudes. And they were like, hey, young blood, like, are you getting paid? And I was like, yes, sir. And they were like, make sure you get paid like for sure, because they stiffed me on this, that, and the other. And I was like, I go, sir, I'm making a measly 20 grand. You're walking with like $380,000. We are not the same. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think that when Mo won the GP and then he won the heavyweight title, he there was like a discrepancy on what the actual payday was, but you know, he got taxed, I think, and that's that's just a part of the game too. You know what I mean? So, but like I said, for as far as my experience, man, if Rizin wanted to pay me, you know, what they're paying Gabby Garcia, what they're paying Ian McCall to come back in, you know what I mean? Like I'll fucking stick around the game a little longer. And even right now, when I look at the 135, 145 pound divisions, you know, at Rizin, I could find myself easily in the mix for a title or a title contender series.
I do have to say that unfortunately your Rizin career was kind of, yeah, like you said, victim of circumstance. The two fights you had, both Suka and Jehu Moon, kind of like were unfair decisions. I still don't know how judges were like, oh yeah, especially the Jehu Moon one.
And that's what everyone was saying. That's what everyone was saying, right? He's like, well, they like you. And I go, what do you mean they like me? Well, if they didn't like you, you wouldn't have had a split decision. You would have had a unanimous.
No, I guess.
Well, here's the thing, though. You also fought Tatsuya Kawajiri that first time out, and that was obviously when Andrew interviewed you. But still, though, you obviously fought Tatsuya Kawajiri. Did you feel like you were getting an unfair shake in that fight as well?
I mean, he had just fought my homie Cub Swanson like maybe 2 months before that, 3 months before that in Salt Lake City. And Cub dotted him up, you know what I mean? And I was like, okay, he can't take Cub down. Or I think he took Cub down once and Cub got back to his feet. And I was like, all right, so that's my biggest fear, right? Was like him grabbing a hold of me and just me not being able to get away, which ended up happening anyways. But I built up this monster in my mind that Kawajiri was. And by the time I found out he was a paper tiger and I did more in my mind that he could do it to me in the fight, it was too late, bro. I had already beaten myself.
Gotcha. I also I also know you did for a while commentary for Rizin as well. I think remote commentary maybe, or did you?
No, they were flying me. They were flying me to Tokyo to do that. So that was part of the deal that we negotiated. My wife at the time, Mercedes, was my manager. She managed my whole first UFC career, the MFC stuff, into the UFC and then into Rizin. And then after that, we just decided that, you know, it's too hard to be husband and wife and manager and fighter and gym owner and coach and student. It was just too many hats. You know what I mean? So that's when she called Jason House and was like, yo, I need you to take this idiot over. He's a fucking headache, you know, but
I mean, come to think of it, that kind of reminded me of the commentary partner you had in Rizin as well. I'm pretty sure he was that was part of the case too.
That was part of the deal we negotiated. Was not only was I going to be fighting for Rizin, is I was going to do all of their commentary for the US broadcast streams.
I remember that.
Oh yes, we remember that as well. Yeah.
And then literally I was flying to Tokyo for 24 hours. I was landing, getting to the arena or the TV studio, and then I was getting flown back the next day.
That must have been a hell of a headache.
I spent more time on a plane than I did in the hotel room or the arena doing the fights.
That's funny. I'm curious to know, did the COVID pandemic did that also have anything to do with your career being stalled either in Rizin, or did that screw up any other things that came along your way?
Kind of everybody, right? So I was during the pandemic, I still kept my gym open. We were still running classes.
Good.
So I was still getting a payroll from there. And then a lot of people stopped showing up to class because they got scared, you know what I mean? And like the people that didn't care, I had a lot of police officers, a lot of military, a lot of guys that, you know, had PTSD that were like, this is our therapy. Like, we need this. A lot of my pro athlete and pro fighters, they were still training, but I changed the schedule up because I was getting up every morning at 3:30 in the morning. I was going and roofing all day for my family's company, from 4 a.m. to 4 p.m. I would get home, I would rest for an hour and a half, and then I would go teach 6:30 class. You know what I mean? And every day that I was on the roof, Jason House was calling me, hey, dude, today's the day. Like, I need you to get off the roof right now and go get your blood test done. And I'm like, okay, bro, like, well, I don't got any money. He's like, if you could put it on the business card, man, like, you know, we'll get it back to you and this, that, and the other. So I would literally look at my form and I'd be like, hey, man, the UFC just called. Like, they want me for this weekend. I need to go get my blood done. And they did that to me for 11 weeks straight.
Damn.
Every weekend I was fighting, and every weekend I wasn't. So on Monday I would get the call that they had chose me. On Wednesday I would get the call that they didn't.
Mm-hmm. I got you.
You know, and it was just constantly a fucking roller coaster of up and down, up and down, up and down. Me spending money and me getting pulled off the roof and not making money. Me, you know, it was just a fucking emotional roller coaster. Then finally, when I do get the call, it's Halloween, right? I'm dressed as Big Booty Trudy. I got a wig on and I'm drinking Coronas and you know, twerking. And then on Monday morning, fucking UFC calls and they're like, hey, they asked for you by name. This is 100% not a drill. Are you ready to go? And I'm like, yeah, let me shake this hangover off. I'll get in the sauna right now. I was like, can we do a catch weight at you know, 145? And he's like, no, it's 135. Do you want it? Take it or leave it. And I'm 165 at the time, 167. So I said, you know what? I said, look, I'm the fucking G'est of G's. I said, I will make a 35-pound weight cut right now. In the next 3 days, I'll make it happen. I did it, bro. I made the 30-pound weight cut. And come to talk about all this, right? I looked at the card and I go, oh, it's got to be versus Gustavo, right? My teammate, my training partner, my number one training partner at Extreme. They're like, yeah, it is. And I go, is that why they asked for me by name? And they're like, I'm thinking, yeah. And I'm like, see, this is just like dirty ass business shit they do, bro, that I can't hang around for anymore. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I should be treated with a little bit more respect than that.
And come to think of it, when it came down to those last couple of fights you had in the UFC against Gustavo Lopez and Tony Gravely, did you feel like, you know, you didn't come in at 100%, or did you feel like you were just legitimately getting fucked over?
Bro, I was legitimately getting fucked over every fucking time they banged my line. You know what I mean? Because I'm fighting Gustavo. Okay, we already have 100 rounds with each other. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He calls me on the phone and goes, hey, bro, did they call you? I said, yes. And he goes, look, I love you. He goes, you know, it's all love. And I go, yes. He goes, look, I know you've been wanting to get back in the UFC for a long time. He goes, I just lost. This is going to get you in the UFC and it's going to keep me in the UFC. He's like, and we'll go, you know, it's November. We're going to go into Christmas both with some money. Like, let's do it. And I was like, fuck yeah, bro, let's do it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but it sucks that you ended up getting a bad shake out of it, especially considering that these were your two most recent fights with a major promotion.
Yeah. So then I'm sitting around, you know, the New Year passes, everything happens, and I hit up Jason House and I'm like, hey, bro, Cub Swanson's fighting, you know, around my birthday. I think it's like May 5th was I think it was like a Cinco de Mayo weekend, right? And I go, let me get on that card with Cub. You know what I mean? That'll be good vibes, good energy. I'll be able to go train and do camp with Cub. And then I get a ring back and they're like, well, how about in 4 weeks? Like, are you ready to fight Johnny Eduardo in 4 weeks? And I was like, I mean, what? Like, I'm asking for a camp. You know what I mean? And so he goes, well, look, dude, Johnny Eduardo's 42 years old. He ain't fought in 4 years. Like, who's going to get in shape quicker, you or him? And I go, well, me, obviously. You know what I mean? And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll take it. So we start training the 4 weeks for Johnny Eduardo. Everything is combo to a takedown to a submission, just like he's lost, right? Combo, takedown, submission. So I run the whole game. Next thing I know, they're like, hey, dude, he's having trouble getting into the U.S. on visa issues. Okay, cool. We're going to push your fight a week back. So it's going to be on the Francis Ngannou and Stipe card. I go, okay, cool. That's my first pay-per-view ever. You know what I mean? I'll be on my first pay-per-view card. Then that happens and they go, hey, we're going to push it back another week. And then it ends up being like, hey, we're going to fly you home, bro. We're gonna fly you home. So I'm leaving Vegas after 9, 10, 11 weeks of being there, right? And I come back to Tucson, and when I'm getting on the plane from Vegas to Tucson, they're talking about, hey, dude, we got you an opponent. It's Tony Gravely. Same car. And I go, dude, like, I got 4 more weeks of camp. So when I peaked, at 5 weeks, I was feeling sharp. But then they pushed it back another week and another week and another week. And then I went home for a week. And then, it was 4 more weeks on top of that. And now my game plan of fighting a Muay Thai guy who sucks at jiu-jitsu is fighting, a fucking Division II wrestler that sucks at jiu-jitsu. The game plan was going to be jiu-jitsu the whole time. You know what I mean? But it was just a bad shake, bro. So then after I lose the Tony Gravely fight, right, which was in April, I'm talking about, like, I call them on my birthday, and I'm like, hey, this fight in July looks good. It's during UFC International Fight Week. The last time I fought in Fight Week, I won. You know what I mean? I said, let me do the International Fight Week again. And then Jason's like, yeah, I like that matchup, because I gave him a matchup. And then the other thing was, like, everybody that I would pick is an Iridium fighter. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm fighting another teammate. And I'm like, dude, like, okay, name somebody you don't manage and let's fight that guy. So I called him on my birthday, and he goes, yeah, let me call Sean Shelby. So he calls me back, and I go, oh, did they accept the fight? And he goes, they kind of went another way with it. They're going to release you. And I go, what, bro? I go, do you even argue, like, my point? Like, I took 2 fights on short notice. I just want 1 fight with a camp. Let me fight my contract out. You know what I mean? You guys kept fucking Joe Soto on at 0-4. Like, how the fuck are you going to release me after I'm over here taking fucking short notice fights for you guys? Like, let me make some money. Let me fight my goddamn contract out. They just do it dirty, bro. And like, half of it's management, half of it's the fucking business of the organization. And half of it sucks and the other half sucks, and the whole thing fucking sucks. That's why we're like, bro, I got managers reaching out now hearing that I'm retiring, and they're like, no, let's work with me and I'll get you back in the UFC. I was like, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. They fucking suck.
Gotcha.
And I mean, come to think of it, don't you think it's kind of like saturation when it comes down to some of these promotions copying the UFC business model of, hey, you're going to fight you're going to either get this bad shake or you're just going to fuck off.
Yeah. Do you remember, like, when I think the last time I heard of, like, a fighter getting signed and it was like a ceremonious thing? It was either Hector Lombard, when he came over from Bellator, he got like a signing bonus of $300K. Then he got his contract. And I think the one after that was Sage Northcutt. You know what I mean? Where it was like a ceremonious thing. You know what I mean? And then he was the biggest waste of money. Like, you spent 80 grand on that child. You spend 80 grand on that child.
They gonna spend 80 grand, I think, on another child that's coming into the promotion. I don't know what his name is. Oh,
Raul
I think Rosas.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you, you can mark my words first. I've went rounds with this kid the whole ADCC camp. You guys are in for a treat. This kid is not gonna become a Sage Northcutt, I promise you. I'm not trying to bring the racist card into this, but there's a difference of a privileged white kid that's driving, $100,000 cars to begin with, getting in the UFC, and a kid that's from Mexico, growing up on tough streets of Mexico and California, coming in and grinding. There's 2 different people. One's got a third world mentality. The other one's got a silver spoon stuck up his ass mentality. Those are 2 different fucking people.
So basically, what you're saying,
talk, bro. That's real talk.
So basically, we should look out for Raul Rosa. He's definitely going far.
Because the kid he just fought on the Dana White Contender Series was a legitimate dude, and that 17-year-old kid beat a grown man's ass. I'm not too proud to say that kid. Every day that I stepped into 10th Planet Vegas, I took my ego off. I checked it at the door, and I let that little child whoop my ass for fucking 6 weeks.
Gotcha.
You know what? I bet he whooped Sage Northcutt's ass if given the opportunity, because Sage Northcutt, I'm not gonna basically badmouth him because he's, obviously well respected, well loved, well nurtured, but still though, the dude was just basically an ass when it came down to
and that's
how
what
he
it, dude. Don't get me wrong, bro. He's been an icon in karate and sport karate, full contact karate. The dude's legitimate, man. The dude is legitimate. We were literally just talking the other day. Mercedes asked me, "What happened to Sage Northcutt?" I said, "Cosmo Alexander happened to Sage Northcutt."
Yes,
I said that was a life-changing career. That was a career-ending fight, bro. You know, so. But again, I'm telling you, Raul Rosas, they should invest the kind of money that they invested in Connor into that kid right there, because that's going to be the next Brandon Moreno that they want to champion up. You know what I'm saying? That's going to be the guy that rallies the entire country of Mexico behind him. That's the kid that's going to rally all the fucking, Southsiders and East LA kids to fucking start, getting off the streets and going and fucking start fighting. You know what I mean? Like, get off the streets, get into a gym. Those are the kind of people that you want to fucking build up.
Now, I mean, come to think of it, you say that Raul Rosas Jr., El Problema Nino, is going to be one of those, actually, El Problema Nino is going to be one of those top stars of the future. Who would you basically say were the top stars of your era? I mean, obviously, 2009 to 2017 would probably be your era, but who would you say were the top stars that you grew into a fighter watching that you would say helped you with your career?
Like around that time, or as me as a kid looking up to somebody?
Well, basically around that time, like as you were starting to become
Thomas Almeida, Pedro Munoz, who was another kid, Cool Hand Luke Sanders, myself, Aljo, TJ was right in there around that mix. Matt Lopez was around in that mix. Justin Gaethje was right in that mix. And if you look at all those dudes, only three of those names kind of filtered out. You know what I mean? For the rest of them, they're all still top dogs at the top, in the top 5, top 10.
So let this not be a podcast about Raul Rosa. Well, he'll go far. We're here to talk about you, Anthony, about your last fight coming up against Leandro Morales for Freedom Fight 3. Gotta ask, so it's gonna be in Phoenix, right? Not Tucson, right? It's in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah, we're at home in Arizona, man. Phoenix is, again, I mean, I'm from Tucson, Arizona, but I bring the crowd in Phoenix. You know, I've done it for LFA. I've done it for, Coalition of Combat. I've fought some big fights there in Phoenix, beat some big fighters there. And, me and Chimmy are going to bring a show, dude. I just think I have too much momentum going on. He actually just fought 3 weeks ago and lost to a kickboxer that out wrestled him. You know what I mean? So the guy that's a kickboxer by trade took him down every round, mounted him, passed his guard, mounted him, took his back. You know what I mean? When I saw that fight, I was like, bro, you're letting a kickboxer do that to you? What the fuck you think I'm gonna do to you?
We're gonna see some 10th Planet goodness going on this fight.
Maybe not like some rubber guard or anything like that, because I don't plan being on my fucking back, but I'm gonna definitely take this dude, mount him, beat him up from the mount, and take his back and choke the shit out of him.
So can you also talk about this thing? So you're part of a team. You're part of Team Team Bader, and that's
Team Bader.
Yeah. So are they? Is this kind of like a Ultimate Fighter type thing, or like you're part of a thing? How is this whole thing?
It seems like they're doing that, right? It's like they're picking, but it's just that the coaches don't fight at the end of the season, right? Because obviously Benson's 170 and Bader's a heavyweight. So what they're doing is basically they're letting these veterans have a team, and then the winning coach gets the belt. So they have a belt, and right now Bader won that over Tito last time. So now Team Bader is the championship team. And then if Ben beats them as overall on Team Bader versus Team Henderson, then Benson will get the belt.
Gotcha. So
basically, it's like a team fighting thing.
Yeah, it's like a dual meet, right?
I'll just say almost kind of like quintets, but
yeah,
MMA.
for sure.
So did Bader reach out to you and be like, hey, Anthony, I want you to be on my team, or how's that whole thing?
No, but me and Bader do got a good relationship. and he's a meme stealing fucker. He takes all my goddamn memes, but I steal his shit too. He's got some good ones. But not so. I was actually originally on Team Benson Henderson, right? And we were like, look, dude, Benson don't even really like Birchak. Like, let's move him to Ryan Bader's team. They actually get along. You know what I mean? So I don't really get along with any of the cats at the lab. I never have. I don't think I ever will. It's a mentality there that I just can't get with. So is definitely Bader and me have a little bit more of a, with a wrestling background, college wrestling. We have a little bit more of a relationship that's more chemistry than anything.
Are the people from the MMA lab kind of like, I don't know if I'm trying to think of like a high school, like, are they kind of like the jocks that like everybody hates because
they're all just arrogant. Like I even asked John Crouch, I said, hey man, in this last part of my career, I'd really like to revive it and get with you. And he was like, oh yeah, for sure. Come up. Then like one of the weekends that I'm coming up, he calls me and he goes, hey man, it kind of occurred to me that I just don't know you. And I don't really know what you're about. And I go, okay. I go, but this is how we get to know each other. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was super confused. Like, you know what, John, don't even fucking worry about it. I'm not coming, dude. Don't worry about it.
You never, John Couch never even also not know the internet. I'm sure you message him like, hey, I'm Anthony Birchak, Planet,
no,
whatever.
bro, I talk to him to his face every day. I have fighters that fight his guys. He knows who the fuck I am. He just doesn't know who I am as a person. He goes, I know you and John Moraga got a little beef. He's like, but John Moraga's got beef with everybody. And I go, okay. So what are we talking about here, bro? Like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? So I would rather just not be part of that motherfucking squad anyways.
I gotcha. And so, are there any, so being from 10th Planet Tucson and also that you're a coach as well, who do you think, from your squad should, can make a step towards like a UFC or a rise in Bellator?
I got two pros right now, man. Dion Clash. He actually just fought Bader's #1 training partner, Sullivan Cauley, at Bellator a year ago. It was an amazing fight. We took down Cauley 3 times and he wrestled at ASU. But we ended up getting finished at 4:59 of the first round with a TKO. Dion kind of just covered up and the ref stepped in and stopped it. He didn't see enough from him. But Dion's one of those guys, man. He just did the Freedom Fight Night UFL athlete tryouts. And basically they were doing this big combine, and the winners of that are going to get a contract with the UFL, which is the main league of this Freedom Fight Night. So Frank Mir, Rob Emerson, those were the guys that were there doing the assessments. And the owner, Harrison Rogers, is going to basically bring these guys up and give them multi-fight contracts into the UFL. I got another guy named Andrew Slater. He fights out in Houston for Fury. He had his 3 fights out there. He had 3 tough fights. We ended up going 1-2. So I'm trying to get him a couple good fights here in Arizona to build him back up. But those are the 2 kids that I can see going into Bellator or the UFC for sure.
I also want to ask, so being that you said this is your last fight, that unless something big comes along, you're not going to, even take or even suggest those offers. Like, what do you do for your last fight? Do you just say, you know what? I'm going to throw down. I don't give a fuck. I'm just going to roll. I'm going to be El Toro. I'm going to be the bull. I'm just going to roll.
That's it, bro. I'm going to be the bull. I'm going to be coming forward. I've been working with a new boxing coach, which everybody over the last 10 years of my career has said, bro, if you just get with a traditional boxing coach, I think you could be the next big thing. And even though it's my last one, bro, it might be too late that I took the advice. But I took the advice, man. I got with Ruben Bravo. He's got Sweet Science Boxing 520 here in South Tucson. He's taking a lot of those kids on the South Side and making them great. You know what I mean? And he's done a tremendous job with bringing up my head movement, my defense, just me understanding fundamental concepts that get lost, when you're training striking for MMA or Muay Thai for MMA. You know what I mean? So I'm really, really excited to showcase the new skills that I do have on my feet. But at the end of the day, you guys know what I do, man. The game plan is to get the takedown, smash them up, get the fucking choke, and get out.
Also, just curious to know, I know that obviously people can buy tickets for the show if you're in Arizona and Phoenix, Arizona, or if you're flying. Can this show be seen? Will be on like a fight, or some sort of internet streaming thing as of now? If you know,
as of right now, we're told that it's gonna be on YouTube, I think. So I'm not sure. I can get that information out to you. That way we can blast it and get views on it.
Of course.
But yeah, that's all I'm being told, man.
Chris, you have 2 questions you want to ask before Anthony has to head out.
Well, obviously, when it comes down to the fact that you are a busy man, how can the fight fans contact you for one?
Man, you guys can hit me up on Twitter or Instagram. I'm super approachable, super reachable on Instagram at Birchak MMA. I try to talk to everybody. You know what I mean? Usually people reach out, and sometimes I get some weird, goofy shit that I just kind of ignore. But if you're a normal human being and you don't come sideways, I'm usually able to talk to you. So,
and don't send him dick pics. Don't send him dick pics as well.
Yeah, don't be sending dick pics. Okay. And then on Facebook, it's facebook.com / Anthony Birchak, Birchak. And then on Twitter at Birchak MMA as well.
Okay. And considering the fact that this is your final fight, obviously you're 15-8 overall in mixed martial arts with, hold up, wait a minute. You're 15-8 in MMA with 8 submissions and 5 knockouts, obviously. Regardless of how you finish this fight or how this fight goes against Shinny Morales, how would you want your career to be remembered?
It's a great question.
I mean, I would say take your time, but I know you ain't got much time to do this.
Just that I never gave up, man. You know, like, even when people go into the UFC and they realize, like, oh man, I went 0-2, you know, I ain't cut out for this shit no more. I'm just gonna retire. Like, I want one more time.
Well, I mean, to be honest, you went 2-6. So I mean, you went 2-4 overall, but that's not really here or there.
No, I just want people to know that I never gave up, man. That, like, no matter how much adversity that I had, and no matter how many times I could have quit, I didn't.
Also, Anthony, as well, just to let you know, since this podcast has grown since we talked many years ago, we have people from Japan who do listen, and I'm sure the Japanese fans, you know, they miss you. I'm probably sure you interact with them when you're in Japan.
Listen, to my Japanese fans, tell Nobu Sakakibara you guys want me back there. I'll go back to Japan. If Japan wants me back, I'll go back to Japan.
We still need that fight with you against Manel Cape, you know, if he ever gets cut by UFC. You know, we still need that. I remember that Twitter war. I remember that Twitter war. You know, I remember when he said that he won a jiu-jitsu competition, like, in wherever like his hometown or something.
Angola at blue belt.
And you said that.
Come to think of it, Anthony, that would probably be the one fight you would want to come back for $50,000 for, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I remember, like you said, that's like being the best ice skater in Jamaica or something. You said something like that.
Dude, yeah, get out of here. You're a blue belt in Angola. Get the fuck out of here.
And also, by the way, where can people come to, you know, if they want to train at 10th Planet Tucson? Can they?
Guys,
also?
I own Toro Tech Mixed Martial Arts in 10th Planet Tucson. After this fight, I'm going 100% into coaching and developing the next big guys coming out. So if you want to learn how to be a superstar in jiu-jitsu, in wrestling, or in MMA, my doors are wide open for you guys. It's an open invite.
So yeah, make your way out to Tucson, or if you're in Tucson or Phoenix or any other, you know, you're out there, please go train at El Toro School, and also 10th Planet Tucson. And Anthony, thank you so much again, man. Looking forward to your to this fight. If it's your last one, you know, if last one for now, if it's you get something in Rizin, listen, please, we'd love to see you at Rizin again.
Of course, bro.
Or wherever else, you know. But again, thank you. You know, I guess you say thank you for the memories, but you know, thank you for always, you know, bring the shit and not being, you know, there's so many people that just like, go into the fights almost like they're clocking in and out. You never clocked in and out, man. It was always,
dude. I live by the sword and I die by the sword. So if I was putting shows on for you guys, I hope you guys enjoyed them.
We certainly did.
Understood. And obviously, Freedom Fight Night 3, November 4th. You can check out more information about that at freedomfightnight.com.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it, Andrew. Thank you, Christian.
No problem.